Welcome back to True Story. This is John Gibson. Today joining us is Aaron Scott. Aaron Scott is the senior pastor of To Go Christian Church in Philadelphia, PA. Aaron, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Thanks for having me, John. Great to see you.
Yeah, great to see you. So to that end, and I can't help but say this without like the biggest smile on my face. Today, this conversation is literally 25 years in the making. And the first time I have seen Aaron's face since I was probably 10 or 11 years old, other than Facebook, so this is a really exciting moment for me. He's a super compelling guy, compassionate guy, honest, caring guy. And I'm so excited to kind of give him an opportunity to share a little bit about his life and insight with everyone too. So with that, I just, wanted to share that with everybody, give a little context. And also kind of say this before I give you a little bit of the floor. Aaron was my very first best friend. And I don't know if Aaron knows that and don't feel compelled to say the same. But for sure, this guy was my very first best friend. And I want to share this too, because I think it's so important. Because, when I knew him, we were young kids. We were in Philadelphia. And I'll speak more so for myself. And then I'd love for you to have floor too. But I had some immense anger issues. And I was in special ed and, literally rode the short bus. And these were things that for many, many years brought me immense shame. And now today bring me so much pride. And this gentleman across the screen for me right now is one of the few people I could say share a couple of those life experiences with me. And we've managed to take two totally separate journeys and meet here today. And I'm looking forward to catch up to say, how did we both get here? So really, honestly, with that, Aaron, as the senior pastor of To Go Christian Church. How did that happen? Because I recall growing up, your family, wonderful family, great family. But if you had a soccer game on a Sunday, I feel like you went to the soccer game, maybe not church. So how did this happen? How did you find yourself on this journey? And, I hope it's not a loaded question, but to finding the Lord.
Sure, man. Well, wow.
So
much. So much. Man, it's wild now looking back too, because I believe that we definitely were like linked up, as peers in that early time of our lives. And we were going through, I think I had anger stuff going on too. I had a lot of, for me, just rebellion and just kind of oppositional towards authority. And it would come out every way, but in a healthy, orderly way.
Sure, that's
I can see. Yeah. And it was crazy too, man. When I think back and realize, because even when you moved like out of Bucks County or whatever like that, I knew actually I ended up becoming friends with the guy that moved into your old house, bro.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
I'm like, this is crazy.
That's amazing.
But yeah, I remember that, man. And yeah, like you said, you mentioned the soccer. That was definitely my deal. And yeah, we were that, man, where we would, supporting the family and getting the family to get out and do things. My brother played some sports too.
Yeah.
Did that, man. But in terms of, I got to clear up one point. I'm actually in Tucson, Arizona now.
Okay. Oh, so I see. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
So I knew you had mentioned, in Philadelphia. We're here in Tucson. I'm from Philadelphia, so duh.
Right.
Yeah, man. In terms of, let's see, so the question like coming to the Lord and starting the church. So, I wouldn't learn this until I was like in my 20s, but actually my great grandfather was a pastor. And I didn't know as much about that. My pop told me a little bit about him, but not too much, because my dad's father, my dad had a real rough childhood, man.
Right.
My grandfather was alcoholic, very abusive, like mentally, emotionally, physically, however you can probably think of it.
Yeah.
He was just he was carrying a lot of hurt, a lot of anger, a lot of shame himself. And he turned to the bottle, and then he acted out towards his family. So like I say that to say that I didn't know my grandfather that much, and I really didn't know my grandfather. He had passed before I met him. But my dad did carry the faith, the Christian faith. And so he brought us up in that way. And when I was younger, you know, I went to Sunday school and I, you know, studied and learned with like youth groups and stuff like that. But, you know, once I got into my teen years, I wasn't trying to hear it, you know, and I went and started doing my own thing, man. I really went wayward. I was just really, you know, I was promiscuous. I was, you know, abusing substances. I was, you know, just selfish and self-centered, you know, in all the different ways you could think of, like a teenage boy, how that might come out, manifest, right?
Yeah. I lived it.
Yeah. So we could think about those things, man. And I just wanted to say thank you too so much because, man, as you've been sharing your story and I've been able to just kind of like watch some of your videos and see your posts and hear your perspective. I'm just like, man, thank you so much for telling this story, for being vulnerable, because I know there's so many people that can relate, you know, but it just takes the courage of someone to get up front and say, I'm going to put it out there and I'm going to share what's going on. So thank you for that, man.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah. Thank you for saying that,
bro. But yeah, so wayward years like that, we both know what that means.
Sure.
Man, but when I got to like college age and I was getting ready to go to school, I went to Temple. I just really, you know, it was, for me, I was popular, you know. I was, I had favor with, you know, girls. You know, they were
always
responsive to me, man. I'm thankful for that. Things would come pretty easily. You know, I was a pretty fast learner. I could at least get enough to kind of, you know, get by where I'm not going to be the last kid picked on the dodgeball team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, never.
So with that, what happened was that, you know, I wasn't trying to live a godly life. You know, I wasn't trying to, I wasn't really letting Jesus be the Lord of my life. I wasn't trying to keep a biblical standard, you know, commandments. I wasn't really trying to keep those things. I was doing things my own way. And what I found was that, you know, this is weird. I have everything maybe somebody would want at my age, right?
Sure.
I'm popular. I got, you know, respect. I got, you know, influence. But I remember still feeling empty, still feeling like, why am I like, you know, sitting in the cool area with the cool guys and got all this stuff around me and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, but I feel like there's something missing. I feel like according to the standard, I should feel great right now because I have everything. Yeah. But I don't. I feel like there's more to it. I feel like what's really the point? Like where are we going with this, man? And that caused me to actually to turn back to my faith, you know, but I wasn't at that point like necessarily trying to go to a church and like have people tell me this and that. I just started opening my Bible and reading it, man.
Wow.
My Bible, read it, you know, apply the things to their life. This is one thing I always share, man, around the word of God. It's like if I tell you about this place that is just delicious food and just fantastic service, right? I tell you about this restaurant. I'm like, John, you gotta go, bro. Make sure you get so-and-so to be your server. Try this for the appetizer, blah, blah, blah. I tell you all about it. I'm raving. But until you actually go and eat it and experience it for yourself, how can you really know? You know, and it's interesting. There's a passage. Let me see if I can find the exact link. But taste and see that the Lord is good. This is taste and see. And what I had to do for me, I had to taste and see. I really had to take it and start putting it into my life. That's Psalm chapter 34, verse 8. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the one who takes refuge in him. I had to test it out, man. And I'm thankful because that's been now. So if I would like fast forward, I started taking these things, applying to my life. I still had some ups and downs, but I really started seeing change, man. I really started seeing transformation, how I saw myself, how I understood God, how I saw other people. So it became like, you know, kind of like self and like family kind of, and then community. Talking about family, bro, there was a long time, me and my pop, bro, I swore by 16 or 17, I was like, when I grow up and I move out of here, I'm never talking to y'all again. And if you call me, my parents, I'm gonna make me, and I feel horrible saying this, but I'm like, I'm gonna put you guys in a home somewhere and be done with you. But today, my relationship with my parents, because of my relationship with God, my relationship with my parents has transformed, bro. And my dad are able to talk and build. Me and my brother are able to build, and mom the same way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the train of thought where I was going to, and then I'll pass it back
Oh,
over,
yeah.
was around being in so much as I know that I had to get into the word myself. I had to taste and see that the Lord is good. With To Go Christian Church, what God's put on my heart is to create pathways for people to taste and see that the Lord is good. So because I had to go through a process. So now I'm challenged to like give people the honor and respect and dignity to go through their own process.
Yeah.
So I'm more like, I see myself as like a facilitator, you know?
Yeah.
I carry those roles and responsibilities, a traditional pastor, you know, overseer, a leader, a care, you know, giver. I'm here to counsel and advise and teach. But I also realize there's a part that I think is not talked about enough. And that's that of being like a facilitator, that I'm trying to create opportunities, maybe ask questions, or, well, let's go over this content and then reflect on it, and let's pray about it. And because no person can explain God in its totality.
Sure.
The Holy Spirit has to come and speak to your heart. And if I don't leave space for that, and I don't create an opportunity for the Holy Spirit to work, anything that I do is temporary at best.
Yeah.
And that's not what I'm here for, man. I want to have an eternal impact.
Right. You said two things that really, really resonated with me. And one of them was to see and taste, right? Essentially, I say a lot of time, or very often, and I think it's very parallel to what you're saying here. It's almost like we are what we do, not what we say. And that expression sounds pejorative or maybe negative, but the way I mean it is actually very positive. It's meant to be motivational. And basically, to explain, I mean it like every day we have the opportunity, right, to make choices and to take action, to be the person we want to be, right? And it usually takes a little change from who we are today to be who we want to be tomorrow, right? And sometimes you could also say like fake it till you make it, but I believe more so we are what we do. So if you were to study a Bible every day, or to read, or to exercise, or however you want to apply that thing, in 30 days and 60 days, 100, a year, all of a sudden you're somebody who studies the Bible, but you're maybe more of a subject matter expert or something. You're studied now, or you are not somebody that works out. You're an advanced, it's just like over time you become what you do in those things. So I feel like that principle really resonated with me to when you practice these things, you become them, right? So I really appreciate that. And then second to that, you said too, that after you started to kind of implement some of these changes, studying, your relationships around you changed, but you also said that the way you felt about people and thought about people changed. And that hit me like an arrow in the heart, because that was something that until you said it, I don't think I had I had the words to express myself. And what I mean by that is like, sure, when you do things over time, you change as a person, right? But what I have found that's been so fulfilling about trying to be a better person is essentially that the impact it's had on others, and the way I have found more empathy for people. And I don't look at homeless people the same. I don't look at our veterans the same. I don't look at, and it's not that I necessarily looked at them poorly, but I now have more empathy for people's sacrifice. I have more empathy for people's sadness. I have more empathy, and that's something until I got out of my own head and living in John's world and worried about what John's going to do next. It just wasn't even in my universe, So I appreciate that you said that, and that really resonated with me. Was it hard? So you made the change. You said, okay, I want to be this type of man. I want to be a Christian. And now I have the cool group. And you're in high school when you're making this change, right? Or college age. So what was it like to change?
Out of college. Yeah.
What was it like at that time in your life when you're the most independent to, make that sort of a change in evolution?
Yeah, and that's an awesome question, man. Can I share about the how like the heart change thing? And I want to come right back to your question too. The heart change thing, because I'm actually, man, I went through a training yesterday, and it like opened my eyes up to something so much about the process of like forgiveness and how that is like definitely such a fundamental. That's one of the main tenets of the Christian faith, forgiveness. But it talks about this, and I'll just read it real quick. Forgiveness usually transpires through a gradual process. Duh. We all get that part, right?
Sure.
First, but it goes through 5 steps. And I was like, what? This is just ill. So first is the awareness of a negative emotion, such as anger or sadness. So I realized that I somehow got offended or hurt. Second is release of self from some of the unmet need, such as the need for the offender to apologize. So I got to like recognize something happened. Then I need to separate myself from, you can't necessarily make this better, right? I don't need you to apologize. Third part, shift. There's a shift in the forgiver's view of the offender. So like that has to come at some point. I start to view them differently. And I think to me, when you start to speak about the empathy, will inform that shift, right? And then fourth is the development. Oh, there it is. The development of some form of empathy. Right in there. And then fifth and finally, a new perspective of self in relation to the offender. You know, and what I heard you start to say was about how I appreciated their sacrifice differently. Man, let me tell you something. And this thing shifted my outlook, especially about my father, right? When I started to shift my view of him and realize this is a man who didn't have a good example. This is a man who was raised in a house that was fortified around fear and around force and around aggression. This is what he was raised in. And as I talk with my father with amongst his brothers, I noticed this whole thing impacted my dad differently than the rest of my brothers did, than the rest of his brothers. Then I started thinking about, wow, as a son, how amazing would it be for this man who, I'm his firstborn son, he doesn't know how to be a father, had a terrible example, was bitter, was hurt by it. What if he had a son that came and just loved him unconditionally and just looked up to him, bro? When I see you and River singing, bro, and I'm getting emotional now, and I'm not trying to go, but there's no way I can talk to you probably and not because you're that real of a guy. But when I start to realize, what if I came into my dad's life and instead of arguing with him, I just was the best son to him that he could ever have? How much healing would that do for him? Sure. And when I start to come to understand that, to see it bigger than just what happened to me, let's back up, bro. Before you even know it. Man. So just that thing was coming up for me, man. But when I started to it, and I have a child now on the way. We don't know if it's a boy or girl.
Congratulations.
Man. We're about 6 months. So that empathy, identify the thing. I'll be able to develop some empathy. It's going to shift your view of what's going on. And then, like you said, now how can I be the thing instead of just saying it? And to your question now about, in that age group, college age, yes, you're independent. So you don't necessarily have like your parents or overseers directing your thought. But I think something you could probably say about both of us too, right? And I will speak for myself, but I'm a pretty like, I don't know. I'll get up and go. Like if it's something that I believe in, I'm here for it. Now that worked to my detriment when I was young, because I was very impulsive. So anything I would just jump at it. Sure. I've learned to control that now. But so for the reason why I say that is because I was really at a spot where like I needed to do something different. I have everything that I'm supposed to have and be, and it's just not cutting it for me. Sure. There's something else, and I'm thankful that I was taught about, like I was introduced to God at a young age. I'm thankful for that. And I realized too that I had generations before me that were like faithful, people. So there's going to be generational, like even blessing that flows. But so I get into this space and I'm in a spot where I want to do what I want to do. So actually, it wasn't that crazy. Like it wasn't that hard because I did have that freedom to be an individual, and to do what I wanted to do. So I was reading my word and I was trying to find where there's Bible studies because I want to hang out with you guys and I want to talk about this. And look, I had been to enough parties and I'm just being real with you. We're being real. I had enough sex. Right. I had done enough things to where, man, that's regular to me now. Like you guys maybe now getting into college, you're free and you're getting crazy. I've been doing that. Right. So this, so I was like, this was new. This was new, man. So it was actually in that sense, there was a freedom, an ability to do that because people are finding themselves, and if you have enough, like just determination to focus towards something, it was actually a good time for me to do it. Yeah, awesome.
Awesome. So switching gears a little, and this is hopefully not self-indulgent, but I just want your perspective. Because no one's listening. Describe to me what a 10-year-old John Gibson was like. I don't know that I have the self-awareness to be accurate. So let me say this, let me frame it. Maybe this will help while I let you think about it. Because in preparation for this, I was thinking of just some memories and those things, and I thought of some good ones and some bad things I did. I was pretty ashamed of too. You know what I'm talking about. But I said, you know what I think, and I narrowed it down, and I mean this sincerely. My favorite all-time childhood memory, and I mean this, all time. And this is like Christmases, birthdays. I'm talking my favorite one, man. Was, and this is what it is, was in your basement doing our karate, starting off soft, getting real intense. Then your little brother Jamie came in, and your mom had one rule: don't play karate with Jamie. Of course, I karate kicked Jamie, and then karate was shut down. But the alternative was all those pizza upstairs, hanging out with your dog. Was Chelsea, my man. And and it was a great night, and that was just one of those awesome things, one of those favorite all-time silly childhood memories, playing soccer in the back, trying to play soccer with you. But anyway, it's just those were the things that you take good and bad memories, but man, I carried that forever. And when I moved away, I still had my best friend in Philadelphia years later and stuff. So, but I know I was rambunctious. I was angry. To this day, poor Miss Powell, she comments on everything on Facebook. I love that sweet woman. And I'm like, I was so hard on her. I was so hard on her. I feel like, I love her. So sorry. So with that, my man, what was I like being this maniac's friend?
Dude, well, and it's so cool, right? Because we were best friends, man, and we were peers, so we were in it together. We were peas in a pod, and we had each other's sides and back when it was the teachers against us and the parents against us and stuff. And then even it's funny how you talk about like siblings and stuff, because I remember with like the brother that Justin, right?
Yeah, totally.
So we would have to be us like against him and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Man, but you were charming, man. You were friendly. You were like inviting, you were definitely that kind of guy that was like, I would probably describe it as like a harmonizer kind of guy, trying to keep people together in those things. You're like, I guess like a year or two ahead of me in school. So there was that dynamic too, where you were kind of slightly my old head, So like, I remember at one point you probably went to Miss Fuller's class and I was still in Miss Powell's class.
Right.
I do remember that happening and being like, dang, like that was my homie. Like, because that went now with the older group. Man, but just so much stuff.
We've grown.
I mean, look back at pictures.
I know.
Like,
I know, and man, you were so good for me. Your family was such a good influence for me. In so many ways, I can remember eating Eggo waffles with an egg on top of it, because that's how your dad did it. Put the syrup. All right. That makes sense. Yeah. Save some time. Let's do that. Just the small things that stay with you forever, and those little influences. And they were good people. They were always so supportive. Your mom was ready at the drop of a hat to go take you or us to a pool or to a soccer or anything at school. And she worked. They were nurses, right? Or something. Yeah. Man, they were workers still.
Yeah.
To this day. During COVID. So shout out to them. Thank them for their sacrifice. And I know this is probably, we might be losing people here, but I just share it to say that left such positive impressions on me, and that's the stuff that I choose to stick with, and it's amazing that we've come so far and changed, because I don't think that a lot of people would have predicted the two guys with pretty big anger issues on a short bus would later, you would be the senior pastor of your own congregation, and I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of it. And to maybe answer my own question for you, I think I would describe you in all the same ways. You were definitely smarter than me, I thought. I think you were being modest earlier. Academically, you were always very intelligent. I feel like I struggled a little because of the dyslexia and stuff, but for sure, I remember thinking you always just had it on lock. You were very intelligent, super athletic. I remember vividly the moment I was like, all right, this guy's my best friend. And I'm ashamed of it, but I'm not. I was a year ahead of you. So I had been in the special ed class already a year. And you came into the class and joined, and this was a small group of kids, 5, maybe 6. So,
Lionel, remember Lionel?
Oh, of course, Nick, yes. The other
Rachel,
Nick,
I think.
Rachel, Jen. Oh my!
But Sarah. Then, it was a girl called Sarah.
Sarah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sarah was the OG with me. It was me and Sarah to begin, and then we grew one by one. But ultimately, less than 10 kids in this class, and you were the only African American. Or so, and you're integrating in, and you're younger. So anyway, I remember going out to recess, and again, I remember it vividly. You were wearing cowboy boots. Why you chose that, I don't know, and jeans. And again, I'm not proud of this part, and I'd like to think I wasn't this person, but I hope I wasn't trying to beat you up. But I definitely was chasing you around recess all day. And I remember you were so fast, I couldn't catch you. And as recess started to wind down, your confidence grew and grew as you were like, and I was like, oh. And by the end of recess, it's like, line up. So we go and line up and we get in line. And I swear, I remember the inner dialogue of thinking, well, if you can't beat them, you got to join them. And you're like, we're cool now.
That's it.
There it is.
Wow. No, I remember, man, because we'd be there at Goodnow, and you had the whole blacktop where we could play, and people would be either kickball in the corner or the basketball courts, or you'd go in the playground or the field.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Pick your spot. Yep.
Yeah. That's it. Where you're gonna rock. Yeah, man. Yo, so that's funny. Wild. And I don't know what I was thinking with the cowboy boots. I do remember thinking they were cool for a while. Hey, so man. I had some cowboy boots.
You're always your own person. That's just what it is,
That's it, man. Yeah, and you were too, bro, as I remember back. And man, what I'm just seeing now for both of us, man, being able to process some of that stuff, some of the trauma we experienced, that I think we were probably unconsciously just like operating out of, like we just leaned into our whatever strengths, whether they fit the status quo or not, because I'm not going to that hurt place, but as we've now been able to process that and learn, and I can speak to it and understand it and share with others, man.
Right.
I'm thankful because I know that, guess what? A guy like you and me, we've been through some stuff to where now somebody tells me a story, I ain't even going to think twice about it.
Never. Yeah.
I probably got a piece of that in my story.
Exactly.
And I'm thankful for that too, because sometimes that like, if you think you're in a bubble, or when somebody tells you something and you're all taken aback by it, it creates kind of like a boundary a little bit, and we can't build where we have to. So I'm so thankful to have had. There's another passage. Let me see if I can find it, man. It was good that I was afflicted so that I might learn your statutes. For me, bringing it back to from the faith perspective, it was good that I went through things so that I could learn, what and how to deal with them.
Yes.
Some things you only learn by going through it.
It's true. And to your point, it makes you so much more less judgmental. It's like and less in a bubble. I hate to just repeat what you're saying, but it is true. We all feel like and we are unique, and of course, but we all feel like we're alone in these specific ways sometimes. And the truth is, we all are we're all sometimes hurting in those same ways, and we can relate, and the fear of the stigma and I agree. And I agree. If I personally haven't been through it, done it, seen it, someone I love has. So there's just plain no judgment usually with me, I may not agree with somebody or what they do or what they say, but it doesn't mean they're discounted, as a human being for something, for a decision they make. Man, that's just awesome. So, outside of maybe, and of course, this is how you live your life. It's a big part of your life, but, outside of just the tenets which you live by, tell me about, you're expecting a baby, your wife. How did you meet your wife? Yeah.
Man, such a cool story. So my wife, the beautiful, brilliant,
she's beautiful,
Dupiola Scott. Thank you so much. So we actually met in college.
Okay.
We met in college circa 2007, 2008.
Okay. Wow.
We were like, cool. We're like, hey, what's up? We like exchanged numbers. We have like some super old Facebook messages that apparently I just fell off and like stopped texting back. But she did move away. So I slightly got the pass. And I guess the initial conversation was strong enough that the door was left open. Right. But bro, we would reconnect 10 years later here in Arizona. Wow. I came to Arizona. I was working in retail. I was actually having a lot of fun. I was in like Foot Locker, Finish Line, those kind of places. I was running stores. I got recruited by like a new company. It was called Kicks USA. They've recently been bought out, whatever. Working with them, but same thing, man. I'm like, wow, I'm growing. I'm doing well with this. I'm well received, but at the same time, like, it's just not so fulfilling. Sure. I'm having fun. I'm building. I'm working with mostly high school guys and girls. I'm developing them as salespeople, as leaders, as team players. So that's positive stuff. But there's just something deeper that I wanted that wasn't being satisfied. A good friend of mine had moved out here and he was working. He had a company, a sales and marketing company. And he's like, listen, man, you can use the skills you have. Come out here. You could start a business. There's no, limit to your earning potential. You can get a few offices going. You can kick back and just build your own things you want to do and just have that income coming in.
What an opportunity.
I'm like, yeah, we need to do that, right? Opportunity. Yeah. Well, I joke around and I say that God kind of hit me with like a bait and switch a little bit because I came out here for that. And I'm working with my homie and he's like literally one of my best friends too. We met in college and we've been like brothers. It was hard to work with him, to be best friends and then to have to work. And I think he would say this too, in his leadership development, like where he was a different man as a leader when I came to versus where he is today.
Sure.
Because I ended up leaving and I went back and worked with him and did contract stuff with him and it worked great down the road. But anyway, I worked with him for a little bit, but it was just the job. First of all, he was kind of like just micromanaging. It didn't work well for me. And the job was consuming my whole everything, my whole life. And part of the whole thing about for me coming to Arizona, bro, I broke up with my girlfriend. I was in a toxic relationship. I broke up with that girl, packed up my car and drove across country. Literally. So when I get literally, bro, like I drove, okay. And I get out here and it was to have a fresh start, a reset. And when the job started taking over too much, where like my spiritual life was out of balance, my physical, my mental, emotional, no, this is not okay. So I had saved money up. I paid my rent up about 6 months and I started volunteering. And through that, I got now plugged in more directly with the ministry here in Tucson. There was this like parachurch organization, this like kind of, what can I think of? An agency that's like a coalition kind of, right? Sure. Brings together groups. Through them, I met the specific church that I would come on staff with as the young adults leader. Through that, the pastor he went on to tell me he had been planning on planting a new church for like years before I even got there. Wow. But they had been praying and waiting for the right person to come. I came, I served with them on staff for about 2 years. And then he offered me, hey, will you be this new ministry? Wow. So that's how it got to that. So that's why I say bait and switch, because I thought I was going out there to do, business and this and that. Those things are coming around. If we'll talk about the other things that are happening now in Tucson, it's amazing. But he got me out here, sometimes you need to maybe dangle that carrot and it's different for different people, but then there's something else actually out there for you. That's what happens.
Yeah. It's so funny how life works out. And, you don't have to, I guess, but I choose to believe that there is some divine intervention. And I don't know that I prescribe to a plan. I'd like to believe, I know I have choices to make, right? But I do believe that there's some divine intervention and things work out and your hand gets forced sometimes, and sometimes it works out beautifully. I'm a big believer in taking advantage of opportunities, but again, I'll share a quick anecdote very quickly.
Sure.
So one of my sponsors is Rain Body Fuel. It's an energy drink. And the representative I work with Rain reached out to me and she said, hey, Rain partnered with ISSA. They're like the personal training certification out there, the most accredited. They're the one. and there's like 25,000 applicants. You should apply. And I was like, no way, I work in healthcare full-time consulting. And yeah, I have a passion for fitness and always have, but I don't want to take an opportunity away from like a 21-year-old, like a young guy, someone trying to make a career that could really use this like scholarship,
Wow.
essentially, this certification for free. Like this is a great opportunity for someone who, not like me, who doesn't have maybe a family or,
Sure.
a job already, a career. So I gave her every reason not to. And she goes, yeah, but you should do it. And I go, well, all right, 25,000 people, there's no way I'll win. So I go online and I fill out the form and I think this will never happen. And I moved on with my life. And then I broke my neck and I literally got the diagnosis, had the MRI, and in a very dark, sad, painful place. And we're leaving the doctor's appointment, literally leaving the doctor's appointment. And my phone lights up and, I can't move comfortably. And it says, you won. I won. I won this contest. I couldn't believe it. So the way it all worked out ultimately was that now, instead of waking up and training for 2 hours for my next BJJ fight or whatever I was doing, because that's just who I am, I had 2 hours reserved every morning to study and to put my mind into something and relearn. And then slowly, as I was rehabbing my body and physically coming back, because it was very traumatic, physically coming back, I had something else positive to focus on. And then ultimately I got a certification and I help other people now. And all of this isn't to brag about me. All of this is to say that I said no. And sometimes there's a bait and switch and some divine intervention or somebody else
Yeah.
influences. And it's the best thing that ever happened to you, or could be, and I like to share that because it's sometimes we don't see opportunities, right? But it's important to maybe embrace them as they come and give it your best shot, right? And you're somebody that, as we speak, you're referencing things that have resonated with you and different passages and these things that you're leading by example, Aaron, is why I say that. And I think that that's so important.
Yeah, it's wild, man. You're starting to share a little bit about the injury. I suffered a traumatic injury too, man. I got
Talk about
shot.
that. Yeah, tell me about that. So I've only read about this.
Yeah.
And please tell me about this. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm walking down the street. It was a Wednesday night. It was in the middle of the summer. I was finishing up. I might have been like, I don't know, junior year, something like that, in college at Temple.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy because it was the summer, so I had been working a lot,
Mm-hmm.
And I was coming back from a late shift that I had as a valet driver. So I got a pocket full of cash. I'm hanging out. So I had actually reached out I'm talking on the phone with the gal that works downstairs from the hotel in the spa. Okay. Mm-hmm. Lovely young lady, talking to her, making friends. Right. And I was about to go catch the subway. So it was about midnight, talking on the phone, walking to the subway to go catch the last train. I think it was like 12:15 it runs. Mm-hmm. And they have like, dollar tacos at the one of the bars on campus. So going to hit that up. Mm-hmm. Guy rides past me on his bike. You know how you can sense somebody going past, you kind of move out of the way. He's going, I'm still talking on the phone, whatever. I didn't pay him any attention. I guess he cut into the alley. I keep walking past. Well, I walk past this alleyway, and then I hear this voice like kind of step out of the shadows and say, hey, get off your phone. And I turn around, like, I'm thinking, like, is this one of my boys messing with me? Like, what's going on? I turn around, and a guy has a gun pointed at me. Like from his hip, like he wasn't like put him up, like it wasn't like that per se, but kind of from his hip, I could see that there was a gun. The light shined down, I saw what it was. And I'm kind of like, whoa, like chill, like my hand's like that. He just shot me. Hit me right in the stomach. I think he kind of flinched. The reason why I say that is because he shot me. I went down to one knee, and then I said, like, hey, like, do you want the phone now? He took the phone, got back on his bike, and rode down the alley. I had a pocket full of money. He didn't try to rob me. Even when he shot me, he didn't say, give me the phone. I said, do you want my phone now? And he took it and left. And it's crazy because the way the news told it was that like there was this whole scuffle and this and that. Mm-hmm. I just turned around and said, what? He shot, I went down, he took my phone and rolled out.
Wow.
So I laid down, man, and I started praying. And I said, because for me, I've been learning about like thankfulness and gratitude like that month. So I'm like, dang, talk about, a test. Well, hey, thank you for my life, because I'm 24 years old. I got shot in the stomach. I'm thinking it's a wrap, like you figure arms, legs, you could maybe, last, but head, body, you're done, even if it's slow, you're done. So I'm thinking it's over for me. Well, a cop, man. And this is why I have a special appreciation for blue lives. Heard the shot around the block, circled, threw me in the back of his car, took me to basically the equivalent of an urgent care facility. They kept me there and then had me on an operating table at Temple University within 1 hour. I had 20 hours of surgery, and I'll probably hear your story about this too. 20 hours of surgery, and I even in process of it, I had to take pain medication. I developed like an addiction, to like what is it, Oxycontin. I had to kick that. But when you talk about being in a spot where you're used to being healthy, you have a regular schedule. I never broke a bone. Wow. So talk about now, I can't even lean down to tie my own shoe. I could barely get out of bed to go to the bathroom. There was a number of times when I was in the shower trying to wash my body and I fell and I couldn't get up. And I'm literally here just like a broken, feeling like shell of a man. But coming through that, and having to face the fear and get back out. There was times where I was scared. I didn't want to go outside because you could tell that I was like hurt, like I would move slow.
I understand.
And I feel like I'm a target.
I understand.
Like I'm so used to, like, I may not be the toughest guy. Like you're BJJ, you know what I'm saying? You could hit me with some stuff, but I feel like I could at least hold my own or at least run away.
Yeah, you could do both, buddy.
At least. Yeah. But when you're so hurt and so it was, I got so physically humbled. It's one thing to mentally humble yourself, right? Or somebody put you in your place. You thought you were slick and they told you, they told you about yourself. They humbled you, put you in your place. But to be physically humbled.
Yes.
I can't do what I'm used to doing. I need people to help me. Hey, hold on, park the car and wait 30 seconds while I turn my legs, take one leg out, pull up to the thing. Because I had core damage. So that, your neck, I mean, you're talking neck, but your core, your back, it ties to everything.
Sure.
Man, so much in that, bro.
Unbelievable. One shot, 20 hours of surgery. So do you have any lingering health issues now? Or is this something that you still have to deal with, like with your stomach?
Man, I had to wear the colostomy bag for 10 months, so that bag right there, by God's grace, man, you couldn't look at me and tell. Amazing. A little bit digestive wise, I don't digest things as well, some stuff, because they had to take intestine, they had to remove intestine. Sure. The bullet went in, bounced around, they had to remove intestine. So, some stuff goes right through me, or some stuff will get clogged up, my wife actually, she's vegan. And so as I started to actually adopt a vegan diet, I found that like my regularity and my digestion was a lot better. Good. So I realized there's just certain foods that impacted. Yeah.
That is such a powerful and compelling story. It's unbelievable. It's the compelling part to me, or the most compelling part, I guess, is the fact that you chose to pray for gratitude in that moment, and to think and reflect on that as in your mind you had resolved that, hey, this is the end, which is just something that's very powerful and amazing. So were you, I guess you were already a Christian at this time, right? Can you talk a little bit about your support system? I mean, I presume your parents were there to help, and who else was there? I mean, this was a 10-month, a year journey back to just baseline, normal, right? Normal. Yeah. So what was that like,
Sure. And that was, it's wild to think about that too, because like sometimes in those crazy situations, the people that actually show up, like you're not necessarily surprised, but it just shows you like, wow, who's really here for you, So definitely like the young lady I was talking to, she played a major role, because we just got to know each other, but she went on, I think, Facebook and just put out a blast like, hey, do you know this guy? And I think my brother, like somehow she connected to my brother, and then my brother told my mom, and then boom, they knew. I had pledged for a fraternity, in college. And so my fraternity brothers came through in I want to say droves, if that's the right word, but they came through.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Okay. It was droves. I'm like, is that right? And then even, man, I'll tell you, classmates, you know, church members. I was an RA. If you're familiar with, like, you know,
Resident advisor.
So the people, you know, that were like on my floor, you know, like students and peers came out big time, man. The one thing I do regret from the process, I was getting so many visitors that my nurses told me, they're like, yeah, like, you need to rest, you should stop visitation, blah, blah, blah. So we ended up like turning people away. I wish I had never done that when I look back on it, you know, because like I'm laying up in here anyway, hitting my morphine button, you know, let the people come through, man. Like, I'm not doing nothing, like, it don't make a difference. But yeah, man, so definitely family, friends, fraternity, clergy, man, I was really thankful. And one thing I'll share too, it opened my eyes so much, man. You probably saw this too, when you're laying in recovery, but you maybe look out the window and you just see the sun go up, the sun go down, people moving around, living their lives, and you're stuck.
Yes.
It showed me how much, guess what? The show must go on.
Yeah.
The world's going to keep on turning. So once I started to realize that, I was like, wow, it made me think, wow, how am I being a good support to other people when things come up? Wow. What are the messages that I want to share and leave? Because the world's going to keep on spinning. Some people listen, some people don't. So what are you doing with the time that you got? Yeah. That was something that was on my heart.
Man, to that end, I feel like you took action. You know, I don't self-identify as a Christian, but I feel like I kind of do. I believe in Christian values. I believe in my 10 commandments. But I don't proclaim it, probably, just, I don't know, because I also want to be open and learn, and I'm still learning so much about myself. I feel like I haven't, but anyway, I say that to say I'm so in line with, I feel, your value set. But that aside, like, or with that, you know, to the future, like, I feel like you have made such a unique impression on your congregation already, because on the peripheral, I see these awesome videos and this cool content you put out. And I feel like you say, what are you doing with it? Man, you're doing great things with it. You know, you're definitely sharing your philosophy. And like, not that I in any way know anything about marketing or branding, but I feel like your delivery, the way you're being a facilitator, to your point, is awesome, man. It's resonating with someone like me who goes, I don't self-identify, but I'm paying attention. So, you know, thank you for that. You know, and I appreciate you putting it out there. Can you share a little bit about like what you're doing with your congregation outside and some of the virtual things and things you're doing?
Yeah, bro. So our whole deal is being a mobile church. So bringing the gospel to the people. If I'm thinking about really being a follower of Jesus, bro, he went out to where the people were. Like, you can read through the text, whether you're a believer or not, whatever. If you read through the text, that's how he operated. So if I'm saying that I'm going to follow, then I ought to do it like that. That's just something that resonates with me.
Sure.
So what we do, man, the way we it's a hybrid, right, between like in-person meeting and virtual stuff. The one cool thing to me with all this COVID stuff, everybody's like, I got Zoom burnout, and I did too, believe me, like fatigue. But at the same time, it's a really powerful tool that wasn't very much utilized.
It's true.
Like, we're here right now.
It's true. 25 years in the making. Yeah.
Come on, man. You know, so we have a hybrid. So what it looks like is the mobile church, bringing the gospel to the people. On Sunday morning, where will you find us? Out in the community, doing any number of things. Maybe we're having a talking circle, and we're praying, and we're reading through the scripture and reasoning through it. Maybe we're just having a time where people are coming together to worship. You got instruments and singing and stuff like this, dance. You know, we're just out there like that. Another time you will find us maybe at a particular location, some of the local high schools, we want to do like service projects. So we just went and cleaned up, because the idea is you want to love on part of the whole, you know, what God is teaching us is love your neighbor as yourself. So how do you love people? Sometimes we do it by, you know, talking with them, being present for them. Sometimes it's through acts of service.
Sure.
So we go out there and we do it. We don't just say it, right?
No, I've seen it. Hey, I've seen it. You were delivering groceries. You know, your congregation was out recently, had hundreds of boxes, right? I mean, I'm seeing it. Mm-hmm.
And so what's happening now too, man, is so cool. You talk about divine intervention. Doors are being opened up now where it's like there can be partnerships and there can be, you know, collaborations done. And it's neat when, you know, how much, I forget the exact quote, but look how much can get done when nobody cares who gets the credit. You know, look how much you can do. So in the past, I think churches would be like, well, no, this is a church thing and we're doing it this way. And well, we're here to reach people. You got somebody that's hungry.
Right.
I bet you, I'd be willing to say that if you put something in the guy's stomach, it might open a door that he'll listen and talk to you.
Yeah.
And when I look back at Jesus's example, he went through and he healed people. And by helping in their physical condition, it opened up the door to, they said, wow, how did you do that? Tell me more. He said, now let me tell you about your spiritual condition.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, instead of trying to lead with the spiritual always, there's a time for it. Don't get me wrong, but let's find a healthy balance. So yeah, we're out in the community on Sunday mornings. And then throughout the week, we have the Bible studies. Yeah. And we get on. The idea is that, hey, go read. Because what I found a lot of times too, it's kind of, Bible study can be like a lecture where like the teacher has read it and you guys sit down and listen to me. And, you know, people learn that way somewhat. But what I found, what happened for me, and this is where I appreciate what you said about like leadership and like setting an example, because what happened for me is when I read it and then was able to start practicing it, I experienced transformation. Right. So if that's what happened to me, I want to create the same way for others to read it and then have transformation and then start practicing. So we go out and we do, and that's the practice kind of part. And then we together and study, and that's the learning part, the building the personal relationship with the Word of God.
Awesome. Where can people find you to that end? Where can they find the church, located IG, all of that good contact information?
Yeah, sure. So let's see. The website would just be www.togocc.org. So TOGOCC.org. Okay. Yeah, so that's here in Tucson. At togocc would be for our Instagram. Okay. And then To Go Christian Church is on Facebook.
Perfect. Yeah, and I'll be sure to include all that in the body of this as well. And so great. Everybody, of course, yeah. So people, if they want to take part in the Bible study or just to check it out, you know, check out some of the cool stuff you're doing in the community.
Sure.
I think it's great, man. And in light of COVID too, to your point, it's Zoom, for example, was a tool we were underutilizing, and it's bringing the world a little bit, it's making the world smaller in a good way, you know? And I love how you're utilizing it to do good things. I think it's awesome. And also in person too. We are what we do and what we practice, you know, I really believe these things. That's fantastic. Before I let you go, I think two quick things. I have to ask that you give a shout out to your mom and dad and brother for me. Absolutely. You know, absolutely. They haven't been forgotten. Great people. And of course, I'll say hi to Mrs. Powell as well. I'm going to wave into the camera.
Yes, Mrs. Powell. And Mrs. S, too. We don't forget Miss S.
Oh, Miss Slowecki. How could we forget her? Oh, my man.
Well, and how about Mr. Murphy? Did you have Mr. Murphy?
Oh, yeah, I had Mr. Murphy. He's a cool guy. Cool that he was like a Marine or something.
Yeah, something. He had that crew cut.
Let me tell you about Sorry. I just had a flashback. I threw a temper tantrum one day and he had to carry me out to the bus on his shoulder once, just me kicking. That guy was awesome. That guy was awesome. Yeah, Mr. Murphy, man. You know, Good No School. It's such a fun time. And, you know, I love that it's still around. I think it's still around. Last I checked anyway.
Wow. Okay.
I know. Yeah, pretty impressive, right? Yeah, which is great. It's cool to know that those, you know, things in our. Let me ask this: are your parents, before I let you go, are they also in the Tucson area? Did the family come with you?
They're still there, bro. They live in that. No, not in that same house, but right down the street.
Wow,
right down the street from that house that you were talking about. We were in the basement.
Yeah, that's amazing. yeah, that's awesome. I can't tell you. This has been such a pleasure for me. Just catching up has been wonderful, but I really I learned a lot from you today about forgiveness. It's something that I'm personally going to rewatch, and I can't wait. And I'm really happy to also just share as much as I can with you and help share more, not with you, but about you and what you're doing in the community with To Go Christian Church. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
And thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing some of this. Thanks for sharing your story as well. It was just captivating, you know.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Man.
Thank
I
you so
can't wait to
much.
see it so I can share this out, bro. And so I can
Yeah.
keep sharing your stuff too, man. Keep up the great work. Thank you for what you're doing. And I know you got so much ahead of you, man.
I
Your
hope
family,
so.
beautiful.
Thank
I
you.
love to see you guys, you know, and man, can't wait to see what comes. What's coming next.
Thank you, sir. All right. This is True Story. Aaron Scott. Thank you again.
Mm-hmm.